Hi, welcome back to the GM Academy. Of course, I am your instructor, Jim McClure, and we are working through our world building series here on the GM Academy, teaching you how to design your own world to play your tabletop campaigns. Now, of course, as we've been working through this 1.0 series, our big focus has been on establishing our base of knowledge before we actually get to world building. And today is going to be focused on setting or environment. And these are two different types of world building. Now, depending on how thorough you're being, sometimes you might be making both of these. Sometimes you might be only making one or the other. But as with everything else, we need to know this before we start making our mountains, our valleys, our rivers, before we start making our heroes and villains, before we start making our histories and our futures. We need to understand our base level of knowledge. And one of the big things is, are we designing a setting or are we designing an environment? Because they are two different things. So our first thing we're talking about is a setting. Now, a setting is feudal Japan. A setting is Dark Ages allegory. A setting is space opera. And there's a bunch of different, obviously, there's hundreds and thousands of these different settings, but a setting is sort of establishing a feel. So to give an example, Legend of the Five Rings. Legend of the Five Rings establishes the setting of feudal Japan. Now, it's, of course, a mystic feudal Japan with magic, but it's going for that samurai caste structure, that everything is honor-bound. It is establishing a setting. Now, it does world building too, but we'll get to that in a second, or I should say it does environment as well. But a setting is that feel, having that establishment of this is what we're here to do. And if you're going to design a setting, then you need to approach it of everything I put into this needs to be to establish that feel of what we're doing, that feel of what this world is meant to be. And that's a setting. That is, a feeling is the big thing that you want to take away from this. That's what you really are going for. Everything that I can put in to make it feel more like we're in feudal Japan, everything I can put in to make it feel more like we're in the Firefly universe and we're smuggling cargo, anything I can do, that's all setting. But then the other side of it is environment. Now, environment is the world itself. That is our mountains, valleys, and rivers. That is our environment. And if we're designing an environment, then we're looking at geographical features. We're looking at towns. We're looking at how civilizations come to be, what makes them go to war. If we're going into the sci-fi world, of course, we're going beyond that. We're going to other planets. We're going to galaxies. We're going to solar systems. We're learning how to make all of that appeal, and that is an environment. Now, when you're designing an environment, you're essentially designing a location for people to play in. Perhaps some history, perhaps NPCs and all of that we'll get into, but it's really focused on not so much of the feeling of what we are here to play, but the location in which we are going to play in. And we see the big difference there between the two. And again, sometimes you might be designing both, a specific setting, a specific feel for what we're going to do, and a specific place that we're going to build it in. And depending on what you want to design, you're going to build one or the other or both. But the understand is everything that you're putting into the world, it's going to fall into one of these two categories. Is it setting up the environment, or is it setting up the feel of what we're playing in the setting itself? So that's going to conclude, of course, our 101 series. After this, now that we have our basic level of knowledge, we know why we are going, to build our own world. We know to look out, to do our research to what other people have done. We know whether we're doing a setting, an environment, or both. Now we're going to start adding the nuts and bolts. And that's when we get into our 201 series, which will be coming up next. And I certainly hope that you all enjoy it. Class dismissed. Thank you for watching the GM Academy. You can click the video to see all of our classes on world building, and you can click subscribe to get all the latest information and videos from the GM Academy. If you enjoy what you saw here, please hit the like button. It really does help us to continue to put out good quality information to the community. Thank you again for watching and for your support.